Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams.
All my life I've awaited your coming and dreaded it.
I like them French fried potatoes.
Insanity runs in my family. Practically gallops.
I always have a wonderful time, wherever I am, whomever I'm with.
This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
It's happening. I just don't know why, so we got her on the program to find out. She's Senator Melisa López Franzen. I don't know. It's not like we hang out together or we've done Christmas or anything, but I consider you a friend of the program. You've always been really nice to us. You were on not long after you decided to get into the Senate race, and I appreciate that very much. What's going on?
Well, Al, the reality of a crowded field and, overlap with other candidates and realizing it's an 18-month campaign. It's a long campaign. So if you lose momentum, it's hard to regain it. So it's a reality of campaigning at a state level and a national level. Not to say it can't be done, but it's certainly, interesting.
We made a lot of fun of you when you got in because you're a family gal. You've got a great family. You put your family right up there on the top, and then it was going to be an 18-month drudge fest. We talked about it when you're on. I mean, just that and how the news media will treat you, and it's not for the weak. It just isn't. So you got in, and I give you credit. At that time, if this is for folks who may not know, Senator Tina Smith says I'm not going to run again. Okay, so now a Senate seat opens. This perks everybody's ears up, right? If you're in politics, Minnesota's like, yeah, let's think about this. Well, Lieutenant Governor Penny Flanagan got in right away. And that's one side, of the Democratic Party. That's understandable. You get in, and I'm like, I can see where this is going, and I get what you're talking about. Is the difference that Congresswoman Angie Craig with $1,200,000 in the bank gets in? Is that what you're saying has shrunk the field the way left, the Amy Klobuchar right, if you will, of the Democratic? That's not a mean thing. People love Amy Klobuchar. You got is that what you're talking about? Crowds that middle where you're like, where do I stand out?
That's part of it. And it's also you're a currently elected official, so you have a different platform that you're able to use, unlike myself, who have been out of politics for a couple years, which I think is refreshing. And on the ground, Al, I'll tell you, people are really thirsty to talk to folks and to just be listened to, not talk to. So I've been traveling the state, and that felt really, really good. I think there's a really good energy about people more involved in everyday government and politics, and really want to be heard and to also be represented. So I thought that was going well, but the name of the game is really money for media, and you're in media. And if you can't get your word out, you can do all the work on the ground. That has to complement that work on the ground. And that's what was challenging, quite frankly.
Well, and again, we don't hang out, do Christmas parties or anything, but the way we vote is probably almost exact opposite on things. But what I love about you, and you've always been this way, is your openness to listen. When we have conversations, you've been on the Between Lines program, you're always willing to listen. You look a guy in the eye. It sounds like, it feels like you've been heard. A person can't ask for more than that in a legislator. I'm just going to be honest. You're in Minnesota. Left's going to win their fair share. So I always respected everything you've done. I was a little sad when you got out. You were on that side. You were the horse I would have put my money on. Because of who you are as a person. I'm not ripping the other two. This is not my gig. But I do think the Democrats would have been better off with you in. Is that okay to say out loud?
Well, Al, I agree with you. That's why I jumped.
Don't argue with me on that one. There's the one thing we agree.
I do. And because people want to label you at left or right or middle, I've always been a pragmatic leader, and I've always listened. And honestly, I have messages from some of my Republican colleagues that were happy that I was jumping in. So those are relationships that you have. It's not a transaction. And I think politics has become so much about labels and left, right, and right, wrong. And it's really toxic right now. And I was trying to change that with those conversations and talking to Republicans, independents, Democrats who are also disillusioned with the Democratic Party, which is really happening nationwide. So I was trying to bring another choice, and I wanted to make sure that people have the right to decide, not the establishment, not DC, not the same people who are in those conventions, because that's important, but that's not the entire state. That is a fraction of a fraction of people who decide who gets on the ballot box, and it's really controlled by a lot of money. And it's really unfortunate that if you would want to run right now, Al, it would be really hard, because you need to have a lot of lined up money behind you, and that takes effort, and it's not open to everybody. So it's
even if it wasn't the money you brought, even if it wasn't the money, I wouldn't get in. I think you have to have a bit of a screw loose to get in politics anymore. You laugh. Back in the day, we looked at politicians in a way like, thank you, you're doing the people's work. Thanks for representing me up there. It's gotten to a point now where you jaywalk 65 years ago, that's going to make it into a commercial, and you're a terrible human because you're on the other side. Gone are those days, and I don't know, God bless you for doing it, but there's no want on my end to ever see that, because it's not pleasant anymore. It's not, you're doing it for the right reasons. Now, that all being said, I'm praying for you that you took a 90-day sabbatical with you and you're heading back. Now, you're going to have it. Where do you fall on this now?
No, I did not. I also part of my dilemma was like I didn't want to have a conflict of interest with my employer, and I was doing government relations, so I didn't want to collect a government paycheck while I was running for office. So that was my moral decision. It was a hard one because I love my job, but I also saw the need. And you mentioned politics. I see politics as a means to an end. I love public policy. That's what I was trained on. I'm a lawyer by trade as well. I want to do good public policy, and I wasn't seeing that happening. Yes, we can cut budgets, but we have to do it with intention and with what's the real goal here, not hurting people intentionally, or there's always unintended consequences to actions. But what I was seeing in DC was just haphazard. So I didn't want that to happen to my children, to my future. So I wanted to be part of it. So I made that decision to leave the U. So I will take some time to think of what's next and be very intentional. Again, it's trying to influence. I do not have to be an influencer to influence. We do not have to do public service only with an elected certificate. So I will continue to do what I love to do.
All right. Well, you had, and I presume, maybe I shouldn't presume. When you do that, you're going to be wrong, Al. Did you have a person who wrote your "I'm leaving" message? Because I'm trying to bring it up here really fast because I just loved how you how you're going to end this. You're not stepping out. You're stepping. It's about stepping with intention into the space where I can have the greatest impact. That is a great line. It's a little too long for a T-shirt, but man, that is a great line. Did you write that yourself? That was fantastic. I love that idea.
Well, it was a lot of different versions because to find your voice of how to say something that you really believe in, and I always said, I'm not a current elected, but we all have agency. We all have power to be active and be leaders in our own community, whatever that is. Just yesterday, I joined Rotary, so I'm going to continue to do the work that I love to do, which is serving the public. And it doesn't have to be with a flashy title. It just has to be with intention. So I really do believe that these conversations we're having, Al, are so important because they're not being had. It's you against me. And that's really toxic. And I don't want my children to grow up in a world where we cannot disagree, that we can have civil conversations in public policy and in other aspects of life. And really show the way by being an example. So I'm not saying I'm perfect, but certainly this election cycle is like throwing grenades at each other, and that's not how I wanted to run a campaign.
It's not any fun. So let me ask you this: is for now politics out? Do we look at seeing you even in this election cycle finding some place to fall because you do want policy? There's the governorship still open.
Well, it's not, but certainly.
Well, I don't think he's declared yet. There will be a race for that in 2 years.
Perhaps. I'm going to be evaluating my options. I don't jump into an elected office or a race just because it's open or available. So it's where can I have the biggest impact? I'm having conversations with friends, family, and really respected leaders, and trying to figure out what that looks like next. But I'm not in a hurry.
Not putting down the Rotary. You can do great things there, but as our governor, you could do that and Rotary. I don't think there's a conflict there. You could do them both. You could be a Tuesday mornings meeting up the Rotary. I just want to say this line, the whole thing, because I did love it. It just stuck out. It's about stepping with intention into the space where I can have the greatest impact, she said. The work continues, just through a different path. Our shared values and the urgency of this moment demand nothing less.
Yeah.
Man, that's Winston Churchill-like. That's just, go. We'll be back after. You did. You knocked it out of the park. I'll tell you what, I hope whoever wrote this story for you in the Star, I should probably give them credit for that. They got it right for you because that was perfect. Allison Kite. Let's go to break. When we come back, I'd like to talk about where things are going here in Minnesota because it's a strange ending to the session, and you probably have some ideas on how it could be done better. Melisa López Franzen on the Al Travis Show.
If it's your turn to host a game, Grandpa's Barbecue suggests you try something different. Put out the perfect barbecue flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. Add it to your ribs, dip the meatballs, or drench your wings in the original flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. It isn't too hot or spicy, fruity or smoky or whatever. Grandpa's Barbecue. Available in select stores and online at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
There are many ways to explore Alexandria. Some like to experience the outdoors and all the fun winter in Minnesota can provide. Pick your favorite way to get in touch with nature. Others like to explore downtown in the warm comfort of a boutique or gathered around a table with friends. You can do all of that or relax and do nothing at all. Come explore Alexandria. Start planning at explorealex.com.
As in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
We're so lucky to have her. She is Melisa López Franzen, Senator. Appreciate you being here. I don't think it's weird that we went into overtime on this session. It really is not. 34-33, 67-67. And you look, and because you've been watching. See, let's just go back to the presidential election. Trump is in, Biden's in, then the debate goes on, Biden's out, Kamala's in, Walz gets thrown in the ticket as well. Trump gets shot at twice, or almost shot at twice. He wins the election. Minnesota starts its legislative session with the Democrats out for, whatever it was, 3 weeks. One senator gets picked up for soliciting prostitution. You got the other one who's still looking at charges, and the Supreme Court gets involved 3-4 times to decide what the word is. I mean, this has been a cluster for the last year in politics. Doesn't surprise me that we're going into overtime. How could you have seen it maybe gone differently?
Well, history repeats itself, right? So every time I was at the legislature, I would go back to people like Roger Moe, people who've done this for a long time, and say, Roger, what would you do? And he would always give me the best answer, which usually was, I would argue, with his experience. And for those of you who don't know, he was a Senate Majority Leader for decades and under the Democrats. And it's different now. People want to fight, and that word has been elevated to a point that it's really not about right or wrong. It's just about throwing the bigger and landing the bigger punch. We've lost our way of why we're there, I think, and to a certain degree. People are losing respect for the process, and there is a process. And I always thought the institution needed to be guarded and respected, and it's not happening. So I think there is a different path, but it's going to take people we elect to understand that we see this process and respected, whether it's at the federal level, which is also being challenged, or at the state level. And it's been done by both parties. So I think and saying that sometimes gets me in trouble, but it's true. Like we use the system and the process to our benefit in this game. And at the end of the day, we lose sight of why we're in it. And I think that's what needs to come back. It's like we need to pass a budget on time so we don't shut down the government.
Well, if it isn't even things like that, one that gets me this time, I don't have a friend that I know that'll tell me that fraud's a good thing. And we've found fraud after fraud and all kinds of different things in Minnesota in the last year. And a bipartisan bill comes up. Senator Gustafson's been on the show a couple of times. When she came on and first mentioned this fraud IG thing, I'm all on it. Right-wing knucklehead that I'm all on it. Let's just get this thing passed. They'd get it through the whole process. And it doesn't get up. No one takes it up. How, if bipartisan in the Senate, both sides, they say, yes, let's get this thing by, and the House says no. Somebody's playing a game here that I don't understand. At the beginning of the session, they voted down a bill that said if you work for the state of Minnesota and you suspect fraud, you must turn it in. We turned that down. And I'm just at the point now, winning is more important than doing the right thing, whether it's Gustafson or whoever puts it up there. How do you not get a fraud bill passed with $600 million in fraud in the last year? You know what I'm saying? It just seems like even the most basic can't get done. We'll argue about budgets all the time.
Yeah, no, and it's it's prioritization, right? What did they prioritize? And I'm not sure I can answer that question from this view, from this side. It's like, I know we had a tough budget and we have a deficit. We turned a surplus into a deficit, and then it's exacerbated by the federal cuts. So we're in a really tough time, and it's going to play out very differently in different states. But in Minnesota, we had to make some cuts, and maybe that's where they try to focus on where the cuts were, and fraud wasn't seen as.
See, that you even say that with a smile on your face. We all understand. If you spend $20 million, but you save 200, you're up in the game. I've got to go. We're out of time. Again, I will offer this live in there. Anytime you want to come on and chat, I do like you. I like the way you talk to people. I like the way you come across to people. If you decide you're going to go another way, there's always spots here if you care to come on and talk. I do appreciate you, and especially in a tough time like this. You and your family decided to get in. That's a huge thing. And then that decision to pull back, that's also a big thing. So I thank you during these times to do this show. I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you.
All right. She's Senator Melisa López Franzen on the Al Travis Show.
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters brings you